Hello everybody and welcome to the latest episode of Let's Talk Blood Cancer, the Patients Podcast. And I've got a big smile on my face today because I've got a lady joining me on the sofa who I am proud to call a friend, someone who I've met through both of our blood cancer journeys. Welcome to the sofa, Jenna Ostrowski.
Thank you very much.
So good to have you here, and you are looking so smiley and so wonderful, which is everything I want from my guests here. You yourself have survived blood cancer, Jenna, and today I would just love to talk about your journey and your experience. So why not? Let's go back to 2017. You had a lovely holiday in Bali planned.
Yeah.
Tell us about your life around that time.
Oh, gosh. So I was relatively junior in my career, but kind of very much on, track for where I was going. Busy. I'm a corporate lawyer, so just constantly busy at work. Looking forward to a holiday. Had my brother's, at the time, 40th birthday coming up, like the week after I got back from holiday. And yeah, all go. But I had things going on that made me think, I'm not quite right at the moment.
What kind of things are we talking?
So I had headaches that I probably had for about 8 weeks, and they were starting to get quite debilitating. I now know it's because of severe anemia, but I mean, I was literally taking paracetamol and ibuprofen about every 4 hours every day.
And what were you putting it down to, though?
Well, I mean, I'd had infections back and forth to the GP, or what they thought were infections, chest infections, viral infections, and had headaches along with that. I just thought I was run down, I was tired, wasn't drinking enough, it was summer. But yeah.
So you got headaches, what are the kind of symptoms?
Bleeding gums.
Yeah.
Yep, so bleeding gums, which subsequently went on to help with my diagnosis. Lots of bruises. I mean, I had a personal trainer at the time, so it was a bit of an ongoing joke that I was a bit clumsy and like clattering into the machines and things. But actually, again, I now know that's because my platelet count was so low.
Yeah, hindsight's a wonderful thing, isn't it? But at the time, we make excuses, don't we, for our symptoms. So what did you? What was the point where you thought, no, I really have to go and get this checked out?
Well, I mean, in my defence, I'd been going to the GP a lot. I think I'd probably been about 10 times over the course of 3 months. And that's not exaggerating, I know that because I subsequently did a chronology of events. But yeah, I kept going. And then when I got back from Bali, because my gums were still bleeding, I put it down to the fact that I'd been using a manual toothbrush and I normally use an electric toothbrush. And I thought, kind of Balinese water, being on a holiday, maybe it's just that.
Yeah.
And that's when I went to my regular dentist, the amazing Dr. Handa in Moseley, and he kind of panicked straight away, and he kind of felt all my nodes in my neck, like kind of jawline, saw that I was covered in bruises. It was summer, so I had like kind of skin colour tights on from work. And he said to me, you need to get a blood test, like straight away, like the bleeding gums on a gum infection. And it kind of went from there.
Did you say, well, what do you think? You must have asked him what he thought it was.
No, I knew I could tell he had fear in his eyes, and I subsequently found out that's happened with a few patients, and actually it's quite common in dentists. So basically what I did after that appointment, because I tried to get a blood test from my GP because I've been back and forth to the GP, and I couldn't get a blood test for about 2.5 weeks with them. The headaches, they said I had to wait and be referred to a headache clinic. I don't know how long away that would be. So I phoned my private medical insurance. I got out the dentist about 6:30 that evening, phoned my private medical insurance and had a blood test the following morning at 8:30. I mean, I can literally recall every moment of it. So I went to the dentist at 8:30 a.m, but I knew then that something wasn't right.
What did you know?
So my uncle, really sadly, my Uncle Eddie had passed away a few years before from myeloma. And so obviously he had the similar symptoms of it being a blood cancer condition, and the kind of the bruising and the lymph nodes, the lumps. So I didn't necessarily know it was the big C until the next day when they phoned me like really quickly with the abnormal blood results. But I knew there was something going on in my blood after the reaction I had from the dentist. And then kind of obviously start Googling, don't you? The next day, getting the phone call, your blood results are really abnormal. And yeah, I knew.
So you had the blood test at about 8:30 in the morning?
Yep.
And then what time roughly did you get the results?
So I had the test at 8:30, went into the office. It was a Friday. got a call from a doctor kind of 12:30, midday time, saying your blood results from this morning. So the private hospital had got in touch with another doctor. Blood results were abnormal. And that is when I kind of put two and two together. So I literally remained stoic, kind of left the office, said I've got to go, left the office, waited until I got to the car in the car park, and then burst into tears. But my husband, he was best man for his best friend at his wedding the following day. So he's over in Derbyshire assembling a marquee. I didn't want to worry him, didn't want to worry my parents in Kent until I had facts. So I literally got in the car kind of midday from the office because I was like, I'm not staying here, I'm going to cry. And I didn't want to cry in the office. Yeah. And then I drove to Coventry to my auntie's, who was my uncle's widower. She opened the door to me and I just said, I think I've got blood cancer. There's something wrong with my blood. I think I've got what Uncle Eddie had.
Wow.
Yeah, it gives me goose pimples thinking about it.
Yeah, I bet it does. And then actually getting a diagnosis. So from, you've got a problem with your blood. What was the instruction that was given to you?
So just wait for somebody to call me. No, so sorry, yeah. So that was 12:30, went straight to Coventry, went back to Birmingham, got on with a lasagna because the other friends were coming up the night before this wedding the following day. So they were at the house.
So you hadn't cancelled any plans?
I hadn't cancelled any plans because, you know, and they just said, I want to get in touch with you. But I knew, and at this point I still hadn't told my husband because I didn't want to interfere with his kind of best man duties. And then at 8:30 that evening, when I'm about to dish up a lasagna and, you know, got the wine in the fridge, Dr. Shafiq called me. First interaction I had with him, the lovely Dr. Shafiq. And he called me from the private hospital, the Priory in Edgbaston. And he said, can you come up, Miss Ostrowski, can you get up to the hospital? And I said, do I need to come now? Do I need to bring an overnight bag? Because obviously in my head I'm thinking, okay. Yeah. And he was like, yeah. And then he came and met me at the entrance to the hospital. And I had my husband's other best friend with me, who was also going to the wedding, because obviously Matt wasn't around. So the two of us went in. Dr. Shafiq came in the lift with us. I had shorts on. He looked at my legs. I was absolutely covered in bruises. And I knew as soon as he met me at the door and his face, and I knew what was happening, and it was all a bit of a whirlwind. Got into the room and I sat on the bed, and then he said to me, "You've got leukemia."
Just like that? Just
like that.
A specific leukemia, or just at that time was it
I think it was like the day after, or probably was the day after that we found out the type of leukemia. But yeah, he knew straight away it was leukemia.
And just to take you back only probably an hour into this story, you're about to dish up lasagna and pour a glass of wine with your friends. What did you say to them? Were you truthful with them?
Yeah, so, I mean, gosh, poor Chris, he was amazing, Matt's friend, but... I said, look, there's something bad going on with my blood. And he was in the room with me when Dr. Shafiq gave me the diagnosis. And I feel for him because it will be forever ingrained in his brain. And that moment obviously scarred him a little bit as well. I think, and his wife was like, oh, yeah, you go, it's fine, don't worry about the cheese, don't worry about the lasagna. And
then... Where did we go from there? So this is a Friday night now. Yeah,
so this is quite late on the Friday night. It's probably about 9ish. So as he told me, I just remember I think I must have let out a bit of a wail and definitely swearing more than I should have done in front of a consultant haematologist.
Justified.
Yeah. And then we just thought, oh, God, we need to tell Matt. So... between myself and Dr. Shafiq, we phoned Matt, and on loudspeaker we broke the news to him whilst he was putting this marquee up, you know, last minute plans for the wedding, because it was in their garden. And then the groom drove him over from Derbyshire into Birmingham. He spent the night on the hospital floor with me. And then the next morning, my auntie came over as well, my widowed auntie. She was amazing, because obviously she knew it was coming because I'd seen her in the afternoon. She came back first thing in the morning when Matt was at the wedding, because I insisted he still went and did his thing. They're really close friends. And then I got transferred. Well, she drove me, because it was quicker than an ambulance and stuff, to the QE. And that's where I stayed for 7 months.
My gosh. So somehow Matt managed to pull himself together and go and be best man.
I think he had a few private moments subsequently, and he definitely consumed more alcohol than he probably ought to have that day. But yeah.
And you were diagnosed with acute myeloid leukemia. When did you get your diagnosis?
I think it must have been the following day. It was quick.
Yeah.
So the thing with my case is that I'd had it a long time. So with acute, by virtue of it being acute, it means the cells multiply very rapidly, and it all happens really quickly. And they think I'd had it probably a few months when I was diagnosed. So it was a case of we have to act really quickly.
Yeah. And this was during the time that you were already being investigated for what you saw as things that weren't right.
Yeah.
How does that leave you feeling? And this isn't about apportioning blame.
Yeah.
But finding out that you had leukemia for that period of time while you're trying to seek help.
Oh, absolutely fuming. You know, it's not about blame, but it was about awareness and the lack of recognition, and knowing that it happens quite frequently. I think it's probably not an exaggeration to say I was incandescent with rage when I, you know, subsequently went back through the chronology, worked out how many times I'd been to the GP. Fair to say I'm not at that GP surgery anymore. And I was just, how was this missed? How could I not get a blood test? How did it take that long? And only because I was fortunate enough through my job to have the private medical insurance could I get a blood test. And I wouldn't have made it, you know, the 2.5 weeks that I would have had to wait.
Yeah. And your diagnosis for a woman in her 30s, because you were early 30s?
33, yeah.
33. That's quite a rare diagnosis, isn't it?
Yeah, so it's more common amongst men actually, kind of over 60s.
Yeah.
So I was quite rare. So again, it's always kind of a bit of a new case, a bit of a. It's not completely atypical, but it was rare.
And how did you go about sharing this news with those that are close to you? Was there sort of a targeted approach to who you told and didn't tell, or?
Yeah, so obviously my auntie knew, Matt knew, and made his way to the hospital. Then straight after the wedding, and with my parents, I wanted to tell them face to face, and I hadn't wanted to worry people until I had that diagnosis, and then it was all a bit of a whirlwind. Straight in hospital, straight on transfusions. So my aunt called my parents on the Saturday, so the day after I'd first found out, the morning after, and said, you need to get to Birmingham. Jen's in hospital. She'll explain when you get here. And I remember they both walked into the room and obviously hadn't appreciated they were walking down a haematology cancer ward with people with no hair and stuff. They came into the room and I still don't think they quite anticipated what I was going to tell them. And I said, look, I've got leukemia. And I just remember my mum just almost like collapsed. And just, it was really tough seeing them like that. And the same with when we told Matt, my husband now. And so every time I told my brothers on the phone, because they all live in Kent, I'm from Kent, and then a couple of my best friends, and then subsequently decided that I would almost like appoint a representative from each friendship group. Yeah. And then they would tell people, because it was heartbreaking. Like, see, they all had like this same reaction of like, oh.
I was going to ask you, was there a generic reaction from people?
Yeah, I think fear, absolute fear. It's the C word, isn't it? And sometimes, and God, there's not a day that goes by when I don't think about what happens, as I'm sure it'd be the same for yourself. It's always in your mind. And there were times when I thought, actually, I think it's harder for these guys than it is for me, because I was a bit more in control of myself physically and what I was doing. I know I wasn't. I couldn't physically stop the cancer, but they just had to watch it as spectators.
Yeah.
I could make decisions for myself about stuff. So I think it was really tough on all of them, and they were all amazing.
There's a bit of irony as well, isn't there, of our CEO from Acute Leukaemia, James, coming to talk at your old firm.
Yeah, oh God, yeah, literally, like not long before I was diagnosed. In fact, I may have even had it at the time. I probably did.
I think that's where we thought you were at. That now looking back, you probably did have leukemia but didn't know.
Yeah.
When Acute Leukaemia were coming to talk about it.
That's my thing, because I'd had it a while, which is why it was so problematic when I was diagnosed. But yeah, James had come in. I was at KPMG at the time, and James had come in, as he did with a lot of the corporate kind of visits, to tell us all about it, to raise awareness, etc. And I remember sitting in the audience and holding back the tears, because I was so close with my Uncle Eddie. He was 40 when he passed away, and he'd left 3 children and my auntie. The youngest was only 3. And so I was just like, oh God, which is why I was kind of mindful of the blood cancer symptoms a bit more and all of the rest of it.
Yeah. And your treatment was intensive chemotherapy, as it generally always is for AML. How did you cope with that treatment, Jen? You as an individual?
Yeah, so I think from the minute I was diagnosed, it's quite hard to articulate, but I think I almost went into like warrior mode. You know, I was absolutely like, oh, like, no way. There's no way I am done yet. I am not going anywhere. And that's why it was tough watching the others around me. Like, particularly my mum found it very difficult to cope with. But anyone who knows me knows how determined I am. And I was like, no way. Like, you are messing with the wrong girl. And I think my kind of coping mechanisms, rightly or wrongly, I didn't let myself get close with any of the patients. So I was in isolation for the whole time on ward 625 at the QE, and I never went to like go in the, you know, in the kind of communal room or anything like that, because there were just, it was so sad. Like, lots of people would go on the ward.
Self-preservation?
Yeah, I was like, I cannot, I just need to do this myself.
Yeah.
And so I couldn't make friends with people. I had to just kind of trap myself in this mind of just warrior. Like, I am not going anywhere. And I knew if I'd seen negativity around me and all of that and exposed myself to that, I don't think I could have done it in the same way.
Did you know you were that strong before you went through your treatment?
I mean, my mum always says...
Stubborn.
My mum always says they broke the mould when they made me. And she's not wrong. And I think, yeah, I'm quite a tough cookie, but, you know, what doesn't break you makes you stronger. And I think, gosh, going through that, anytime now, if I get a cold and I have a little whinge, my husband is literally like, get over it. Like,
no
come
sympathy.
on, no sympathy. So, yeah.
And you've got beautiful long hair.
Yeah.
That, as a woman facing losing your hair, whilst, relatively speaking, it's a small price to pay, isn't it? But didn't you have a wig made out of your own hair?
Yeah. So again, I'm a massive control freak, and again, I wanted to take some control, and I didn't want it just to fall out. So I made the decision literally days after being diagnosed. My best friend came up from Kent, Hayley, kind of was at my side. My parents were there, Matt was there. And then my hairdresser from the Joy Quarter came into my room in hospital, shaved all my hair off, so we could have my hair made into a wig with my cousin, the one who was 3 when her dad had passed away. So she was like 10 or something at this point. No, a bit younger than that, I think. So she had her really long hair cut into a short bob, and between my hair and hers, we had that made into a wig.
Amazing.
Yeah. And I think, I mean, lots of women, particularly now, embrace having bald heads just generally, don't they? And I think that's admirable. But for me, it was mega to kind of, I'd only ever had long hair. And yeah, I mean, Matt, we played around after it started growing back. We'd cut it into Mohicans and stuff. But I mean, that was the one and only time I'm ever shaving my head.
Yeah, yeah. Well, it looks beautiful now.
Thank you.
Clinical trials as far as your treatment was concerned. So I'm loosely aware of the AML-19 trial. Yeah. How different is that from standard care, and what kind of impact did that have on you? So, well, at the time, because it all happens quite quickly, and they gave me all this information about a trial, and the sense I got was that, you know, you can have ordinary chemo, but you're really far gone. We've got this kind of experimental drug that might have a better impact. So I kind of felt like I needed to go down the trial route, which is now standard of care, which is amazing. But it basically, I had Mylotarg was my trial drug, and it was randomised how many doses of that you would have. And I remember we literally had like 12 hours or something to read all of this information. And Matt and I went through, highlighted, swapped notes, highlighted again, compared like, are we going to do this? Because I didn't know how many doses I was going to have as part of the trial, but until I signed up, and then it was randomised. And I remember the study saying, I think in France, or maybe the other way around, France and the US, they'd done studies, and one had an increased rate of mortality and one had a better survival rate, depending on the dosage. So obviously it was risky, and Mylotarg in itself is a really punchy chemo. But again, it was that kind of, we've got to give it a try. Yeah. Let's go for it. And now it is standard of care. And you know, I know somebody that's having it at the moment, and yay to Mylotarg. Yeah, absolutely. Why the 12 hours? You said that we'd got 12 hours. Was that to make a decision? I think it was about 12
hours, yeah, because obviously we had to act really quickly with my treatment. Well, I know you do everybody, but particularly because of how long I'd had it. So they came and gave us these, I think they were yellow, these printouts. And I think we had like half a day or something, probably not a whole day, it would have been like half a day. Read all of that and tell us if you're going to go through with the trial or not. And that's why we were like, right, parents, leave the room. Me and Matt, read it again, just to get it all in and make sure we understood the risks, etc.
And recognising that you had half a day to discuss all of this, what was the simple alternative? Of course, carrying on with standard care.
Yeah.
But what did that mean in real terms for your case?
So it would have been the same chemotherapy without the Mylotarg, which is the trial drug. I thought if it is a wonder drug, and in one of the case studies they'd done, there was an increased survival rate, I had to give it a shot. And I'm so lucky that I'm from Kent, as I mentioned. The fact that I happen to have been in the West Midlands, and that's where I've settled, meant I had access to this. And I know it's far more wide-reaching now, but at the time, things happen for a reason, don't they? And, thank God for being in the Midlands and getting access to that and a clinical trial.
Without a doubt.
Yeah.
So just talk us through the latter stages of your treatment then and your response to the wonder drug, as you've called it.
Yeah. So I subsequently had 4 rounds of chemotherapy.
Over how long was this?
Well, it was 7 months to the day from being admitted to being discharged, but I had 3 breaks where I got out. Okay. I think the longest one was a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
So it was like being a prisoner in a private room in the QE for 7 months. And then what would happen is you'd have your treatment, particularly the first couple, when you kind of cell counts are at the worst, and it would completely wipe you out. And that's why Mylotarg, I think they tend to give it predominantly to younger patients because it is so punchy. And then your neutrophils, which I know you've talked about these a lot on podcasts. I got obsessed with my neutrophils. They're the kind of cells you need to kind of repair things and get everything up and running, and they're really prerequisite to surviving and living well. They would literally get down to 0 from the chemotherapy, and you'd have to wait for them to get up to over 1 before you could even leave your room and go for my little exercise walk down the corridor. So it'd all be a waiting game. You'd get obsessed about your cell count every day. They'd come, what my cell's doing, what my platelet's doing. You'd have a series of blood transfusions, platelet transfusions. I mean, I had more than I could ever count. So all those people that donate blood, amazing.
Oh, absolute
Just
heroes.
keep doing. No one wants my manky blood now, but and then you'd wait until your cell count came up enough, try and get some kind of recovery. Obviously, you'd have all the other side effects of chemo, the ulcerated mouth, all the rest of it, and then you'd go again.
Yeah, you make a slight recovery.
Yeah, recovery.
Yeah. Straight back into it, isn't it? So your treatment finished in or around
February 2018.
2018. And then you thought, I'm going to jump on a bicycle.
Yeah.
And you joined us on the very famous now Acute Leukaemia London to Paris cycle ride.
In this September.
Some people want to raise an awful lot of awareness for a charity that may have helped them. What was your motivation for jumping on the bike?
So I found, I knew about the charity kind of briefly from the experience with James coming to the office, but I found out about the bike ride and the fundraisers whilst I was having treatment, really early on actually. It was Bobby at the time who was involved in the charity, and he came to see me and met up a few times. And I was just like, I need a bit of that. And also for that kind of mental piece of that, that motivation. In my mind, I was like, I need to know that I'm going to carry on going. I'm not going to die. I'm going to survive this. And I hadn't been on a bike since I was a kid. I certainly didn't have a road bike or anything like that. Plus, I'd been hospitalised for 7 months. But I told myself, I think it was like round 1 of chemo or something, that I was going to do this bike ride later that year. And it just kept me going.
And that was when you and I met on the first London to Paris. And your performance there was incredible. You were better than many of the people who hadn't gone through chemotherapy. Some of the side effects of chemotherapy as well, and I know that you're comfortable to talk about this, but you were told it would really affect your fertility as well. Yeah,
so I was 33 at the time, and when we had no immediate plans to have children, we weren't married at the time, and I was very kind of career orientated, as was my husband, but we thought, at some point in the future we wanted the choice, and then suddenly thinking that choice had been taken away from us, and because it was all such a whirlwind, how quickly everything happened with you have to start treatment within days. I remember asking the question, well, does this mean my fertility is going to be affected? And they weren't really sure because obviously haematologists concentrate on the blood. So then they got someone over from the Women's Hospital, the obstetrics consultant, and they basically said, look, there's no time to do any fertility preservation because you've got to start, your treatment straight away. And obviously my blood count was so low. My platelets were like 7. Which is ridiculous. So, and they said, it probably will impact on it, particularly with all the chemo. And if I'd had a stem cell transplant, they said that would have made me infertile. But at the stage, we didn't know if I needed that. So just with chemo, they said it'd probably be about a 30% chance I could have kids. So we were a bit like, okay, assume we probably can't.
And at the time when you've been given the news that you have blood cancer, your priority is clearly getting well.
Yeah.
Did that news about your fertility impact you as much as it might have done if you hadn't had a cancer diagnosis?
I think, well, because we, like I say, we had no immediate plans, so we were just kind of cracking on with life. But it suddenly put it into perspective and made me think, oh God, maybe we should have done it sooner. But then equally would have been horrific going through treatment with it. And we didn't ever want kids young. We loved our holidays. We were both focused on work. And so when we got told that, I think particularly after I finished treatment, it was that realisation of thinking, oh, we're probably not going to be able to have kids now, until we were subsequently tested and they were like, oh, actually, but yeah, it did change things. It put things into perspective. But then equally, it's better to be alive than not at all.
Absolutely.
So again, it just went back to that crack on.
And then celebrating that feeling of being alive, you and Matt tied the knot.
We did.
And I was very privileged to be there as well, yeah.
Yeah.
Which, of course, is a celebration for all of the different reasons alongside marriage. Significant events afterwards?
Yes. So we then subsequently had Orson 2 years later.
The awesome Orson.
Orson, yeah, our amazing little boy.
Born in 2023, I think. I almost want to say an against the odds birth, really.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Mum calls him our miracle baby, naturally conceived.
Which, of course, absolutely an amazing addition to your life.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure how much I can hold this poker face for, but only about
Exclusive.
20 minutes ago. Do you want to reveal your exclusive?
Yeah, so I'm actually pregnant again with number 2.
This is absolutely amazing news.
So, only 4.5 months. So, yeah.
And there may be friends and family and colleagues of yours watching this podcast that's breaking news.
We've hardly told anyone, so you guys are privileged.
I think that might be the first time we've actually had some breaking news on the Patients podcast. So.
And at least one of them's going to be a haematologist when they grow up, no pressure.
That's your stipulation, is it?
Yeah, I keep sowing the seed with Orson.
Yeah.
But,
so you no longer have to be checked, do you, at all?
No, as of last year. So, I mean, you're checked for several years afterwards closely with bone marrow biopsies, which in themselves horrific. And then after that, it just turns to blood tests. And then eventually I went down to annual blood tests, and then they finished last year.
And Jenny, you no longer have to be tested anymore. And there will be people watching this podcast who are just longing for that day when they are told, we just don't need to see you.
Yeah.
And you're released from, as you described it, that prison cell.
Yeah.
Can you try and put into words what that feels like to be told you're free to go?
Yeah, absolutely amazing. I mean, that's what you're striving for the whole way through treatment. And kind of keeping yourself motivated for that. And so many people are told that now because of all the breakthroughs with treatment. I think back to my uncle, who I've mentioned a few times, Uncle Ed, and I think had he been diagnosed now, there might have been much more of a chance for him with his myeloma diagnosis. And I think anyone that's diagnosed now has to keep that hope, because I genuinely do believe what doesn't break us makes us stronger. And, just keep that motivation in your mind, keep on going, keep fighting. And then you can be like, yay, yay.
And your passion for doing what you do and supporting acute leukemia and coming to share your story with us today is, as you've described, because a clinical trial saved your life, didn't it?
Oh, my God, it absolutely did.
The importance of trials can't be understated, can it?
No, I mean, they're just so important. Really, sadly, one of my best friends from school's mum was recently diagnosed with AML, and she's having Mylotarg, which is amazing because she doesn't fit in the kind of category of people that normally would have it. And I've said to her, I've said to my friend, just keep on going. That treatment is amazing. She's so lucky she's got that because it's standard of care now. She will get fixed. Just keep the hope. Like, you're gonna get fixed, Wendy. Wendy, you're gonna get fixed, Wendy.
Big shouts.
Yeah, you're gonna be absolutely grand off the back of this, and you're gonna come out so much stronger. But yeah, I think that the breakthroughs that are happening all the time, The treatment is just amazing. And it's not just the trial itself. I mean, you know, the actual care that you get. So Hayley, my research nurse, I love her. She's amazing. Love you, Hayley. People like that give you that extra level of care that you wouldn't necessarily have. I mean, they're all amazing when you're being cared for, as you'll know, but you get an extra layer with that. And Hayley was my everything person to ask questions to care for, just do everything. And you can't underestimate the importance of that. You're like a VIP when you're having a clinical trial.
And we're never forgotten as patients, are we? So you've got the open invite.
Yeah.
If ever you need to go back. And I think you were saying that you can get checked for anything that's concerning you perhaps a little bit more easily as a former blood cancer patient? Yeah,
definitely. I mean, to your first point, so I had a call with an obstetric haematologist last week as part of my pregnancy because I'm automatically high risk, not just because of my age, but because of my previous cancer history. And she was like, a name like Ostrowski, oh, I've seen your name around clinic and, kind of on posters or whatever. So they do remember you, absolutely they remember you. But also, if anything goes wrong, I've got a lymph node up in my neck that's been up for kind of my jawline that's been there about a year and a half. We panicked a little bit about it because that fear never leaves you. As you'll know, Adam, it's always in the back of your mind. And straight away, clinic, even though I'm not patient there anymore, were like, OK, we'll get you a scan organised, kind of fast track you through just to rule out any potential secondary cancer because that fear is always there, even though, hopefully is all good. So that you always, I think, be part of that kind of family and that network, which is good.
You did just mention your name and you've prompted me nicely because you did get married.
I did.
And you became Jenna Greenaway.
Yeah, Greenaway. Still Ostrowski professionally, but also Greenaway.
But Matt would never forgive you if
he wouldn't. So we've got to mention the Greenaway.
So you are living a wonderful life.
Busy life.
You are a very busy woman raising a child, soon to be 2. What happens now moving forward?
Just carry on living life. I mean, I think I've got a slightly different perspective on things to some other people in my profession, my career. I mean, I'm a partner at a law firm, HCR Law, corporate lawyer. So I do M&A kind of deals, which can complete at any time of the night, the morning, whenever. And that my career is, really important to me. But I always have in the back of my mind, the one thing never to forget is the importance of your family and your health. And without your health, you're no good to your family or your friends. And so I embrace every holiday, every anniversary, every birthday. None of this, it's just another birthday. If my parents say that to me, no. Because you never know how many you're going to get left.
True.
Holidays, just embrace life and don't ever just go, it's just another birthday. You never know. Like, your life can just change like that. Yeah. And I think that perspective that you have after you've gone through a diagnosis like we have, it just changes everything. And and also you don't whinge so much when you get a cold.
True. And your story is so positive. How you've recovered and where you are now. You're supporting Wendy. How lucky is she to have you to be able to talk to? Because did you have anyone that you could confide in straight away?
I mean, my husband was my absolute rock. He was amazing. Like I say, I didn't get to know the patients. I have since the treatment and all the rest of it through the charity and the bike ride and everything. But really, my friends were great. Like they did all these like Jenna-lutions for me when I was in hospital. So things to look forward to when I got out to keep me motivated.
Jenna-lutions?
Resolutions, like New Year's resolutions,
okay.
Jenna-lutions. Like camping trips, spa days, that kind of thing. In fact, I think some of them still owe me.
So are there any left to do?
Yeah, probably are, actually. Old news now. Yeah. But yeah, and they'd have a rota to come and see me. But really, my husband, my parents, my close friends, they kind of kept me going. It never leaves you. It's always there. There's always kind of traumas and long-term side effects, but it it's always there.
But we're in a great place.
We're in a great place
at the
now.
moment, aren't we?
Yeah.
And you've mentioned your company, and a big shout out to HCR Law, who have kindly sponsored this episode of the Patients Podcast. HCR. So a big shout out to your firm. Jenna, I love it when we get to talk, and especially when it's in an environment like this and we can share your hugely positive story with all of the viewers around the world who are watching this. Thank you so much for joining us on the sofa. Everybody, you have been listening to Let's Talk Blood Cancer, the Patients Podcast.